Welcome to Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Casey Porter here. It's been a minute, about a couple of weeks since we've gone live with Austin. So, hey, Austin, it's great to see your face again. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We've communicated a couple of times, but been super busy. Haven't had a chance to get together for a live show, so super excited about tonight.
Casey, first off, Happy New Year to you. It is our first show that we're doing live in the year 2026. So happy to be able to see your face. Happy to be able to continue to do this show and talk about a new year of Dodgers baseball. The Dodgers in 2026 are not yet World Series champions, but they are working on trying to make it 3 straight World Series in a row. Casey, it's great to be able to see your face. It's been a little bit since we've done a live show together. It's probably been close to 2 weeks or so. I think it was just before Christmas that we last did a live show together. I've had the privilege to be able to do a couple of my live solo shows, but what's been going on, Casey? Have a good Christmas, have a good New Year for you?
Yeah, everything's been great, man. The health is good. I'm almost back to completely normal with all my heart issues, and so to be honest with you, I've been running the jackhammer and the tiller and the chainsaw and denting my truck and running everything at the farm for the last 2 weeks. Getting everything ready while I have some time to just kind of tuned up and ready to go, and getting kind of caught back up on some projects. So I have definitely prioritized the farm over Dodgers Daily and my O-State Daily side as well. So, hey, good time of year because there really hasn't been a whole lot going on. I think the real big topic you hit it the other day, and I think I'm aligned with you, and I think everybody else out there knows, if Austin and I aren't aligned together, we have no problems whatsoever getting into a very spirited conversation about each other's side. But I think we are both aligned on several different levels. I think most Dodgers fans are really in the camp of wanting Bo Bichette, maybe even over a Kyle Tucker. And I'm just not real big on Bo Bichette. I just think there's a lot of maybe overpricing and a lot of maybe overrating. I think more than that, I think that's probably the wrong way to look at it. I think there's so many variables that could make the Bo Bichette thing not work the way the Dodgers need it to. I think he is a guy that is kind of, if he falls in your lap, you don't turn it down. But I don't think he's a guy that I would go out and just eagerly, certainly wouldn't overpay for, but I just wouldn't go out and pursue and do everything I could to go get him. Kyle Tucker is that guy. I would be as aggressive as I possibly could to throw as much money in the AAV to reduce the amount of years. I probably would go up to 5 years with him, and I would go that way just because I think that's more of a need in terms of a want. Neither one of them are needs. They're both wants, but that's where I'm at there.
Yeah, so this was the topic of conversation that I had during my solo show on Monday. If you have not had a chance to be able to watch that, I would highly recommend watching that, just because I think there's been a lot of discourse about both of those players when it comes to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Look, the later that we get to the offseason, which luckily for Casey, he was able to take 2 weeks off, and there really wasn't any news that happened over the 2 weeks off.
Well, I would have came back on. I would have prioritized it if there was.
Yes, he had the opportunity to be able to rest. But that means that we're starting to get into a little bit closer to the later stages of the offseason. We're getting close to a month before pitchers and catchers are going to report, which means that baseball, especially for the big name free agents, they're going to start to look for some sort of deals. You could see that throughout the month of January. And as it continues to go later, that opens up opportunities for the Dodgers, who have an amazing ability to be able to go out and spend as much money as they want to get either a Bo Bichette or a Kyle Tucker if the number of years starts to come down. And so I think one of the questions that a lot of Dodgers fans are trying to ask themselves is, would I rather get Bo Bichette or Kyle Tucker? And to my surprise, just because I have a different opinion than a lot of Dodgers fans, it seems like a lot of Dodgers fans that I've seen both online and from a lot of different interactions that I've had would prefer a Bo Bichette over a Kyle Tucker. And I don't necessarily know, and this is where I want the chat to actually come in, because if you want Bo Bichette to be able to come to the Los Angeles Dodgers, I want you to be able to make that case, because I want the case to be made, because Bo Bichette is a really good baseball player.
Oh, no doubt.
And he no doubt would be a good addition to the Los Angeles Dodgers. The question is, when you compare those two players individual? Is it just because Bo Bichette is likely to cost less years? Is it because he plays infield? Is it because he's a right-handed bat? Is it because of what he did in the World Series last year? Or is it because you believe in the bat and overall profile of Bo Bichette over at Kyle Tucker? Because I think throughout the course of this offseason,
you're showing your age. You're missing a big one.
What is the
or is it because of who his dad is?
It very well could be. Yes, it could be the profile of name that it is, or just because we don't know. Or I wouldn't say don't know, but the name of Kyle Tucker does not leap out as being an elite type of player, when I think some of the numbers actually reflect otherwise with Kyle Tucker, with what he's been able to produce thus far in his career. So I actually want you guys to be a little bit interactive within the show. If you want us to be able to continue with this conversation, if you are for the Los Angeles Dodgers going out and signing Bo Bichette, I want you to be able to make the case, and then we can have a little bit of discussion back and forth, because we're starting to get later in the offseason, and the later we get, the more realistic possibility those names become for the Los Angeles Dodgers to be able to get in. If I'm in the organization of the Los Angeles Dodgers, which I'm not, I want the Dodgers to sign the right one of those players, because if you're going to give out big money to a player, I want that player to be good. And Bo Bichette, Kyle Tucker have been good, but will they continue to be good is the question.
We have two 1999 Super Chats right off the bat for 2026 from OU Beauty Med.
Yeah, Matt, I think it's Matt Kramer. I think
Matt
is what
Kramer,
it was.
yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. From Your Beauty in Los Angeles. Best and most serious show in the biz. He actually said not serious show, so corrected that with another 1999 by saying most serious. So, hey, Matt Kramer, thank you so much. What a wonderful honor that is to right off the bat get so much great support in terms of that super chat there. Thank you so much. And more importantly, the wonderful words and support that you gave there. So thank you so much for that. So here's kind of where I'm at. It's not that either one of them wouldn't be great.
Yeah.
It's that this gets into the responsibility aspect of building a roster that can have enough flexibility to not just win a World Series this year. The Dodgers are going to be the favorites to win the World Series right now. Even if they don't get Bo Bichette, even if they don't get Kyle Tucker, they have the best roster in baseball. And I don't know, maybe you can correct me because you're way better with the other team's rosters than I am. You'd have to show me another roster in baseball that's close, right? I mean, I'm going to put it to you this way. The Dodgers didn't play good in the World Series. They didn't even pitch good from the starting pitching perspective. And the starting pitching was really kind of the only reason they were surviving. Would you agree with that, Austin?
I would agree mostly with that, yes.
Yeah. And then the starting pitching wasn't even good in the World Series. So I would venture to say to you, from an on-the-field production perspective, now from a grit, from an intangible, from all those aspects that don't have to do with actual on-the-field stuff, I think the Dodgers got an A+ in the World Series. But I think in the World Series, you could give the Dodgers maybe a C-, maybe even into a D in terms of how they played, because the starting pitching wasn't good. The hitting wasn't good. I mean, it had some moments. Yeah. So I would say the Dodgers certainly did not put their best foot forward in the World Series. Still beat a Toronto team that's very good, by the way, maybe has the second best roster in baseball. And not just that, they were monumentally hot. They had guys that were having seasons, and then not just seasons, but parts of their seasons that I don't think those guys will ever have. And so you were playing an extremely hot team, maybe the second best roster in baseball, and in my opinion, you still put out about a C, maybe even a D+ type performance on the field, still won the World Series. You've added Edwin Diaz to that. And so from that, I say, there's, in my mind, you correct me if I'm wrong, if you think I'm wrong here, that's the best roster in baseball, and I don't really think it's close. So what you have to do now with anything you go moving forward, it has to make sense from a flexibility perspective. Like, okay, we built the roster for this year. Now we need to make sure that we continue to have flexibility to win 3, 4, 5 years from now, because it's like this, Austin. Okay, if I have $1 billion, is $2 billion actually going to make my life any better? I mean, I already can't spend the $1 billion I have. So is that extra $1 billion going to really make a difference in my life? Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, and just one thing, because I know there's probably some comments in the video right now. Yoshinobu Yamamoto was amazing during the course of the World Series. When we were talking,
Yes.
he was talking about the pitching, he was talking about it as an aggregate as a whole.
Correct,
Yoshi
yes.
Yamamoto had one of the greatest, if not the greatest, World Series pitching performance in Major League history. Absolutely phenomenal. You look at some of the other starts, though, it wasn't as great for some of the other starts. Game one got off the rails pretty quickly, or got off the rails at some point during the course of that game. Some of the other games, they also were able to give up some runs, but they got just enough from what they needed to just barely squeak by the Toronto Blue Jays in the World Series. But I think what you stated in that is absolutely accurate. The Dodgers right now, on paper is the very important word, on paper have the best roster in the game of baseball. They could go out into the season and be just fine, even without going out and getting Kyle Tucker or Bo Bichette, even without going out and trading for an outfielder like a Steven Kwan or a Brendan Donovan or a Lars Nootbaar or Jarren Duran or any one of these guys that the Dodgers have been talking about. They have the best roster in the game of baseball. How do you fortify the roster is the question that the Dodgers are trying to assess right now. And the risk cost benefit analysis, not just for the year 2026, which should be the priority, but not the sole priority of the Los Angeles Dodgers going forward, is how do you make it a three-peat, but also open up your options for the future. And this is where, I mean, there's a lot of different stuff that you can be able to look at to be able to weigh the different benefits. One of the things that I'll probably be able to do, I actually don't know if it will be on the Monday show or perhaps a surprise show, maybe even tomorrow if I have a little bit of time.
Yeah,
there's been some projection models that have been released, which actually shows some favorable things. We'll be able to dive into that into the 2026 season. But looking into the future, what you want to do with each one of these players is be able to project out how they're going to do long term. So questions for a Bo Bichette and a Kyle Tucker, and the reason why the Dodgers would want to sign them short term and opportunistic deals is towards the later end of their contracts. They are very likely to regress at some point later in the deal, which is going to limit the window of what you have later into the season. So if you already have the best roster in the game of baseball, how
Correct.
much fortification do you want to be able to add to it in order to reinforce your lineup? I still think that should be a priority for the Dodgers to try to reinforce this roster, reinforce this lineup, just to make that gap between the Dodgers and the next best team just that much wider, to give yourself even just a smaller chance to be able to win. But they're in a unique position to be opportunistic, which is why the Dodgers, it might take a little bit for something to map out, for something to fall into place. And while we have the discussion of would you rather have Bichette or Tucker, it might just be wait to see who falls into your lap.
And if it doesn't, that's where the restraint the Dodgers have shown throughout the years. Now, they have pulled the trigger when they've needed to on a Shohei Ohtani, a Yoshinobu Yamamoto, a Roki Sasaki, a Mookie Betts, a Freddie Freeman. They have re-signed Will Smith. They brought back Clayton Kershaw. They signed Edwin Diaz, the Tanner Scott. They've done all that, right? They have pulled the triggers on all of those situations. But really, I think the thing that probably has put them in a position to have the most amount of flexibility that they've had is the restraint. So the restraint here is, okay, you don't have to do this. This is not something that you had to do. Like I felt like you had to go get Edwin Diaz. So let's show that restraint. Let's just see if Kyle Tucker or Bo Bichette, how they respond as it kind of comes down to the finish line. It gets to the nitty gritty, and they start squirming around a little bit, and they're like, well, hell, this isn't going quite the way I wanted it to. So, hey, kind of what I was talking about, that $1 billion versus $2 billion. How about I just take a little bit more extra money in the short term and go win a couple of World Series and then really restock my value? That's obviously the pie in the sky dream if you're a Dodgers fan with one of those two. But we have another super chat here from Showtime LA. Good evening. Seems like the Dodgers will add a bat via free agency more so than trade. I feel they are focused on Bichette and Tucker. So that brings me, I think, probably more relevant to this conversation than just the individual names, because you've done. I only say that to say, you have broken down those two to the nth degree. We've talked about Kyle Tucker, Bo Bichette for 2 months now, right? I mean, until we're blue in the face. So let's not look at it from that perspective. I've said this many times, okay? This next signing, if there is one, and I think the odds-on favorites, the Dodgers are going to make another signing, and it's going to be a pretty big splash. It's going to be somebody like a Tucker or a Bichette. You don't go this far and not figure. Now, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work. They're not going to go stupid, but they will go aggressive. There's a difference between, like whenever you play, say be aggressive. There's a difference between playing aggressively and playing stupid, right?
Yep.
So the Dodgers aren't going to be stupid, but I do think they will be aggressive to make one more splash. So instead of looking at names, let's look at need. And the need they have, yes, defense will be fine, okay, whatever. They need a bat. So just from a philosophical perspective, this needs to be a signing that says, okay, we significantly improved our offense. That's what this signing needs to be.
So then what you're saying is somebody like a Harrison Bader does not really fit the mold, because a signing of Harrison Bader would be for his defense specifically. I think that's the mold of what he is. And if you're looking for the Dodgers to be able to add somebody to this roster, I don't think Casey is necessarily looking for somebody to be able to just solely improve the defense. Harrison Bader absolutely would, and would make the outfield situation a whole lot better. Put him in center field where he's very good. Put Andy Pages in right field where he's very good, and move Teoscar Hernandez over to left field. That would be a good thing. That would be a short-term fix. I don't think that would be the priority for the Dodgers, because just adding Harrison Bader onto this roster, I don't think completely helps fix some of the situation, especially so on the offensive side. If you are looking to improve the offense, you are looking for somebody who has a little bit more weight to his bat. That's when you're looking at the higher priced free agents like a Tucker, like a Bichette, potentially like a Bellinger, although there's a couple of question marks that you potentially have with some of his profiles. Similar to what I have a couple of question marks, just because I want to make sure the Dodgers get it right with some of Bichette's profile. The question is not just, I want a bat, because you can add a really good bat into this mix, but you also need able to think of the different type of bat that you want to be able to add to this mix. This is something I've talked a lot about throughout the course of the offseason. I'm looking for somebody who can hit well against right-handed pitching. Now, that might sound a little bit counterintuitive to some people, but if you actually dive into the depth of hitters that can hit well against right-handed pitching, the Dodgers bench is pretty right-handed heavy, or at least it was last season in the postseason. You had Kike Hernandez, you had Miguel Rojas, you had a lot of different hitters that can go ahead and mostly hit right-handed. Alex Call, you add him to the mix, a lot of right-handed hitters. I think just adding a little bit of depth and somebody that can hit against right-handed pitching is going to be something that's going to be really well fit with this roster. So that's kind of one of the profile that I'm looking for. We've also talked in the past about a little bit less of the boom and bust type of mentality. Yes. And the reason why that is the case, why we've talked about that, is we just want to provide a little bit more stability and consistency to this lineup. There's a lot of great things, a lot of pop that this offense can be able to provide. But if you have too much swing and miss into the mix, what that's going to lead to is pockets of inconsistency. And what would be the worst thing is a pocket of inconsistency to fall sometime during the World Series. You need to hit home runs in the World Series to succeed, but you also can't be striking out a ton of times, because then you can go cold just like that. And so I think somebody that can hit well against right-handed pitching, that can provide a little bit more stability and consistency in the lineup, and it is a little bit more of a proven bat, would be the profile that I would be looking for as an individual player. And the only way that you're going to be able to find those types of players is if you go into either the higher end of free agency, or you are willing to give up more than what you want via the trade route. Yeah,
100%. So if I were to ask you, in the playoffs last year, and really from basically the All-Star break on, or you could think some could say even from like June on, what were the two worst parts of the Dodgers team?
Defense would probably be one. Well, okay, so there's a couple of different. You could throw it on some of the defense. You could throw it on their bullpen and some of the offensive struggles that they had.
Yes.
I wouldn't just say one. There's a lot of different issues that the Dodgers had.
Yeah, but what were the two worst?
Bullpen was pretty bad when it got to late into the season.
So what was the first move they made?
That was going out and addressing the bullpen. as much as the defensive struggles concern you, they don't have as much of an impact as the offensive side of the game of baseball does.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, 9 times out of 10, that fly ball that a 1,200 guy can catch. I mean, seriously, it's a BP fly ball, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the Andy Pages catch is a once in a very blue moon type of issue. And I'll say this again, and from a statistician, I'd be interested to hear your response to this.
Yep.
I think a lot of defensive issues in the major leagues is guys that just don't focus on June the 23rd. Quite like they should, because I'm telling you, man, that 6 months grind. It's so if you're just kind of an average defender, right? I mean, you're just not. I mean, you're not a guy that has blazing speed. You're not a guy that just, those Superman guys, like they can pick up a ping pong paddle and all of a sudden they can put spin on it, and they played like 2 ping pong. And then you go play them in pool and they kick your ass in pool, and they can dive off the diving board and do a flip. I mean, it's just. Some guys and some gals it just seems like they can just inherently do something, and things come very easy to them. So for the athletes, to me, that aren't just super gifted in terms of foot speed or just kind of being able to read balls, or it's like they can do it while they're just about halfway asleep. For everybody else, okay, it takes a maximum amount of concentration to be at a premium level. So I think a guy, and I think everybody would know where I'm directed with this, a guy like Teoscar Hernandez. So let me say this. What if I would say I don't think he's necessarily a great defender in June because he might be drifted out a little bit, or a Kike Hernandez even, in terms of the offensive side of the ball. But I trust him in the postseason because I know he's locked in. So what would you say to that?
Okay, so what I would say to that is I think there is definitely at least a grain of truth in that baseball players, especially with teams that have their eyes set on October, and especially with the Los Angeles Dodgers, who basically already know that they're going to get to October, assuming that they play the baseball that they should play baseball with the talent level that they have. I mean, we've seen the Dodgers win the National League West, 12 out of the last 13 years, and during the other season, they won 106 games in the regular season. They have walked into October seemingly every single year. So when it's a game in June in Coors Field, and there's a fly ball that's just seemingly out of reach, perhaps it is something to where some of the guys trying to preserve some of their energy, especially for the postseason, especially if they know that they're needed for the postseason. I think there could be a grain of truth with that, although in the moment, I think a lot of these guys are going all effort. One of the things that I would push back, especially defensively, was we even saw some plays.
There's a difference between effort and focus, though.
Yes, I think that's exactly right. As far as the focus not being there, not the effort not being there, which I think the effort is there, but the focus in that exact moment is different in October for certain guys, which I think is part of the reason why Kike Hernandez has exceeded and excelled, I should say, so well in the postseason. When it comes to Teoscar Hernandez, though, even in the postseason, we saw some moments where defense was not good and it gave up extra bases for him, but he was able to turn it around on the offensive side. So I think Teoscar Hernandez, fine offensive player in October. Defensively, there is still some question marks with him. So I don't think the regular season stats completely mask. I think it show you very good trends of where this player actually is, especially if the trends are pretty consistent. Teoscar Hernandez, you look at the overall defensive numbers, they consistently are on more of the negative side, whether it's in left field or whether it's in right field. He's been a negative defender. And I think that's just what you're going to have to deal with if you are the Los Angeles Dodgers. So you're dealing with somebody who isn't necessarily the greatest defender out there. So it is about making sure that he has the ability to be able to step up in the moment, especially when the moment counts in October, which he's done a really good job at being able to do. Overall, and this is really difficult, defensive metrics aren't necessarily perfect. But you just want to be able to look at overall trends of where things are at and to be able to assess whether an individual is a good defensive player and whether you can count on them later in October type of scenarios.
So let me ask you this then. Why can we have guys like Kike Hernandez that you say, hey, they come up in the clutch? And when we say, hey, they come up in the clutch, you're speaking of the offensive side, right? I mean, you're
Yes.
talking about, hey, this guy loves to be at the plate. You never talk about. I've been in the game for 52 years of all my entire life. I love baseball. Hell, I probably watch 5 or 6 games a year, every Oklahoma State game. I mean, I'm addicted to it. Okay, so kind of what I'm saying here is you always hear this guy loves the clutch. Hey, some guys, you talk about guys who are practice players, but then when the lights get bright, they just know how to perform. Like they're terrible in practice, but then once the game starts, they're really good. And then, but what you're talking about is their offense. It just never seems like you're talking about their defense. So kind of my question is, why can we make the claim about Kike Hernandez that this guy is clutch when it actually matters, whenever he's locked in and that kind of deal? Why can't we make that statement about an offensive guy and not make the same mistake that statement about a defensive guy? And to piggyback on top of that, the defensive metrics, do they have anything in detail that could actually give a accurate depiction of what type of defender, say, a Kike Hernandez or a Teoscar Hernandez specifically has been in the big moments?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. I think the reason why we can say it a little bit more definitively on the offensive side is we get a larger sample of those types of plays. And especially with the plays that we're talking about, we're not talking about routine plays. There are a lot of routine plays that happen over the course of a baseball game, especially during the course of a World Series type of baseball play. It is those unique plays, those in-between type plays where it's more of a 50-50 whether the defender is going to get it or the ball is going to land.
You need to get a good jump, that kind of take the right angle, those kind of things.
Those type of plays, which are incredibly or a lot more rare in the game of baseball. Whereas with Kike Hernandez, he's going to get 4 plate appearances during a postseason game, and he's going to go ahead and have a chance to be able to showcase if he's good during that 4 postseason plate appearances. Versus those in between plays, you might have a couple of those that happen throughout the course of the game in which a defender might make a good play, but they might not happen to the exact same individual, which means that for a player, you might only get one shot of that every couple of games. You're dealing with a very small sample size of those types of plays, which means the moments of when those players make those plays really stand out, especially if it happens multiple times. Like when Tommy Edman, Game 3, made multiple game-saving or run-saving type plays in that game. That was breathtaking because those were multiple moments in which those were big situations in that he stepped up defensively. You just don't see that too often, which I think is why it doesn't get talked about quite enough.
Yeah. Well, and you really remember when they mess up. I mean, the Bill Buckner. Hey, man, Bill Buckner, and that was Game 6. Mm-hmm. Bill Buckner was an awesome defender. Okay, I mean, he just made a mistake, and people are going to remember that forever, right? Yeah. So you really remember the screw ups, and it's because like in basketball, like officiating. I officiate a lot of basketball, and I do a lot of baseball too. You have a block charge. That's the hardest, usually the most controversial call, and people are all up, and this side thinks it's a block, this side thinks it's a charge. And as a referee, you're like, okay, and you explain it, this and that, and there's zero worry to it because you're going to go up and down the court 7 different times in the next 1.5 minutes, and in about a minute and a half later, everybody's going to have forgotten about it. In baseball, man, you sit over there at third base or in right field, and you make an error, that might be the only ball you get in the entire game. So that's literally the only thing that people have to remember you by. So just that, I think what you said is where I'm getting at. There is such a small sample size of plays that guys have to make in crunch time, and or especially in the biggest parts of the season or in the biggest games, that aren't routine, that require something a little bit different than a routine effort. When I say a routine effort, I mean a better jump, a better angle, that kind of deal. There's such a limited sample size that I think the bad defensive player, in terms of how that relates to success in a postseason or a big game, is quite frankly overrated. Because I think at Teoscar Hernandez, there's about a 98% chance that basically every play he's going to have to make in every crunch game is going to be routine. And then really he's only going to have just maybe 1 or 2 or a handful of any of the other plays. And if he makes a couple of them, like he hit the relay and they threw the guy out at home, then the bat, outweighs those percentages by leaps and bounds. Did I explain any of that properly?
It is all dependent on his ability to hit for the offensive side. Because, yes, it is true that a lot of the situations in the game of baseball where it's a game of inches doesn't necessarily happen all the time. But it is when that happens that often decides the game of baseball, with the ability to be able to make plays. For example, in the Phillies series, the wheel play that the Dodgers were able to pull off. If they don't pull that off, they probably lose that game. And then the series completely changes around of what happens throughout the course of the season. It's the ability to be able to play routinely that does matter throughout the course of the season.
So is Muncy a good defender?
I wouldn't necessarily call him overall a good defender, but he stepped up.
Has he ever been a bad defender in a big moment that you can remember?
That is a good question. I don't remember.
I've seen him be a very good defender in that wheel. I've seen him be a very good defender when it's mattered the most. I'm not sure I ever remember seeing him being a bad defender when it was against the Giants or a huge situation or a post. I don't remember that.
Yeah, and it's very likely we're probably forgetting something that happened just because there have been moments in which Max Muncy has made mistakes in the past. And just like it happens to every single individual baseball player, but you remember the moments that stand out, and especially if you are able to make those plays. The point that I was trying to make with that situation is inches in the game of baseball really do matter. But if you're able to go overcome it with your ability to hit for offense, I think that's one of the reasons why Dodgers fans still love Teoscar Hernandez, not just for what he's done in the past, but because of his offensive contributions that he can bring in, the clutch factor. That's the entire reason why people want to bring Kike Hernandez back. If you look at his regular season stats, he is not a good regular season hitter. You look at the regular season stats, he's an 80 WRC plus player in the regular season. It is all because of the postseason, what he's able to bring to the clubhouse, that fans are able to attract onto him, and being able to hit in October, where it's the hardest to be able to hit because you're going up against the best pitchers in the game of baseball, really does matter. So a lot of this conversation comes down to being able to do things when it matters most, and whether it's on the offensive side, which there's a lot more opportunities to be able to take advantage of and be able to perform well, or on the defensive side, you have to be able to make some sort of impact. So if the Dodgers are going to be able to bring some person in, it is either to help with the game of inches defensively, or when the game matters most offensively, be able to add to the mix, which I think we see more on the offensive side. That's where we saw a little bit of struggles for the Dodgers, inconsistencies in the postseason. I think being able to add somebody to the mix is going to be somebody that's going to be of really good benefit to the Dodgers.
So who started Game 7 in center field?
Game 7 in center. That was Edman in center field, right?
Who finished it?
It was Andy Pages who finished it.
So that's kind of where I'm getting at. This is why teams like the Dodgers. They acquire guys. Now Freddie Freeman, obviously, Mookie, but they're usually guys that are elite players, are at least pretty good at both sides of the ball. But this is why teams build on offense, is because like you just said, almost every single play that a baseball player is going to make is going to have a certain routine element to it. There's only going to be a minute amount of plays that aren't routine that they're going to be asked to make. And then the percentages of those plays that aren't routine happening in parts of the game that will really hurt you are lessened even more, considering the fact that if that is the case and it is a big moment or whatever, they're probably not even going to be in the game anyways, because Andy Pages is going to be put into center field and you're going to put your best defensive team out there anyways in the biggest parts of the game. So it is that this is the I wanted to have this full circle conversation to get back to the point that when the Dodgers go get another player to add to this roster, and I think they will, I'm gonna say I'm confident. Hey, things are fluid, things can change, but I think as of right now, if you put a true serum if you put a couple of bottles of champagne into Andrew Friedman and got him loose-lipped a little bit, I think he would be as confident as me that they're going to go sign a pretty damn good player. And this whole full circle conversation, I think, goes to show why that player needs to be offense first. If the player is good at defense too, fine. But this is why this needs to be an offensive move.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. This is also one of the reasons why when the Dodgers acquire people on the margins, like earlier this offseason,
yes,
the Dodgers brought in Michael Ciani. A lot of people are like, who's Michael Ciani? What exactly is he? Who exactly is that type of player? He is, by a lot of the defensive metrics, if you average them out over 162, one of the better defensive center fielders in the game of baseball. Now, he's not going to spend a whole lot of time likely in Los Angeles just because the bat isn't there. But we saw what the Dodgers were able to do with Justin Dean throughout the course of the postseason. They were able to insert him consistently late in games, even though he had, 2 plate appearances the entire regular season. They added him and kept him on the postseason roster, which means that if you can get some offensive production early in the game and be able to substitute later in the game with some defensive-minded guys, especially because the Dodgers can carry 14 position players, 15 position players on their roster throughout the course of a postseason, because some of the starters can be able to provide length for the Dodgers pitching staff in the postseason. You can be able to substitute some guys, which means that you want some offensive guys to be able to provide some thump into the lineup. I think that's going to be one of the main focus. It shouldn't be the sole focus if you have question marks about the offensive profile, but I think it should be something that you're looking for some of the better or more stable offensive bats that you have. And you actually mentioned a name within that dialogue. And I've actually been questioning myself a little bit, just when it comes to bringing it back a little bit full circle, because I want to get into some of the comment section, because I issued a challenge for you guys. If you guys weren't there with the challenge, we had a conversation, or at least briefly, did a lot during the previous show, about Bo Bichette and Kyle Tucker. And Casey and I have noticed a lot of people wanting Bo Bichette. I want you guys to be able to make the argument for Bo Bichette, because I think Casey and I are a little bit more in the Kyle Tucker type of conversation. But the reason why I'm bringing it back to Kyle Tucker is you mentioned a name, Freddie Freeman. Now, Freddie Freeman in 2022 signed a 6-year, $162 million contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers, entering his age 32 season as a first baseman. And the reason why I bring him up is when it comes to this conversation that we are having, and this is especially around Kyle Tucker, because we can talk about some of the parallels between Freddie Freeman and Kyle Tucker, is, am I putting restraints or hard restraints on the years limit for Kyle Tucker that the Dodgers didn't put on Freddie Freeman, and is that causing me to be able to miss out on a player? For example, if I were in the same situation right now and Freddie Freeman was available and you were able to sign him, an age 32 player that has a good history of production for age 32 through 37 season, would I sign that player to 6 years? I think that's a question that I'm trying to answer. And that the reason why I'm bringing that up is because with Kyle Tucker, a lot of conversation that we've been having with Kyle Tucker is the Dodgers should sign him to a short-term high AAV deal. I agree that is the best scenario for the Los Angeles Dodgers. But then it comes to a conversation of, to what length would you give a Kyle Tucker a free agent contract? And I think you mentioned earlier in the show, I would go up to 5 years for Kyle Tucker. I think that's what you had stated. What's the difference between giving Kyle Tucker a 5th and a 6th year? Is that a hard line? And should that hard line be there for this individual player? I think that is a fascinating conversation of where to draw the line as far as length of deal, given the profile of player that Kyle Tucker has, which we can get into in just a minute.
So let me give you a story. I was kind of an example of what you're saying here. I think I was 26 years old, and my wife and I, my beautiful bride of 26 years that I talk about all the time, we went house shopping, right? We went house hunting. And so literally I think it was like the second house we walked in. And we walked in and I said, okay, what's the price? And the guy said, well, here's the price. I said, okay, get on the phone right now and offer full price for this house. Okay. And so the realtor was like, you mean you don't want to like offer like $4,000 or $5,000 less or whatever? I'm like, nope, offer full price right now. So kind of what I'm saying is, I knew what I was seeing. I knew what I had. I knew this opportunity was too good to pass up. And I was not going to lose that opportunity over $3,000 or $4,000, right? I mean, interest rates at the time were like I think it was 2.75% was the 30-year mortgage. So I knew the interest rates were good. So if I wait another year, they might, who knows what happens with them. So it was like one of those deals to where, okay, maybe could I get this house for $2,000 or $3,000 less? Possibly, right? But then I also might lose it. Well, come to find out, and I know this for a fact because one of my best friends on earth, the golf coach here at Guthrie High School, another official as well, Rick Michoud, offered on that house the same day for about $2,500 less than the retail value. And our offer got taken because we offered full price. And there was like 11 offers the first day it was on the market, and we were the only one that offered full price. We're still in the house 30 some odd years later. Now, imagine if I had have lost that house because I was too cheap I wanted to finagle for $2,000. Mm-hmm. So that kind of, to me, that's the Freddie Freeman effect. That's the Kyle Tucker deal. If this guy is that house for me, if you look at this guy and you go, yeah, that's it, like you did with Edwin Diaz, yeah, that's the guy we need, then you go, okay, well, yes. Now there was a hard limit to where if the guy would have said, well, here's the price, I would have said, we're not even close. Got to go. See you, right? Yep. Okay, there is that hard line. But if you hear that price and you go, man, that's not exactly what I want, but that's a hell of a lot closer than I thought it would be. And to be honest with you, man, this guy's too good then there is going to be some gray area in that part of it. And then that's when the Dodgers get very creative with high AAVs, deferments, because what you got to realize is if this money is deferred, right, you got to put it into a fund or whatever. Yep. And then that money 10 years later is going to be worth a hell of a lot more than it is right now. So let's say $1 million, you put it in a fund and it sits on interest, whatever funded, I don't know the exact specifics. So instead of making the $100 million that you're making in cash right now, you're letting half of that sit on interest because hell, you don't need half that contract to live on right now. Yeah. To whatever 10 years later, now your money is almost doubled or tripled. And so the Dodgers get very creative with that perspective because they can give a lot of money up front. And so if it is a situation to where Kyle Tucker is that house for them where they go, that's the guy we need. There's nobody even close to that. We're not going to get a better deal for anybody. And we need an extra player. Then I think there will be some gray area that isn't part of the restraint that we talk about with the Dodgers.
Yes, and the reason why I'm having this conversation and why I think you made such a good point with that is we're not talking about 10 years necessarily with Kyle Tucker. That's not what I'm asking in this conversation. What I'm asking is the 6 to 7 year type of deal for a Kyle Tucker if some of the years start to come down, and if it is something to where yes, he's looking for a high AAV, but he's also looking for some security, a little bit with some length as well, perhaps some opt-outs early, but some security for like a 6 to 7 year type of window, type of time frame. Could be totally out of the possibility. He very well could be a player that's looking for a 10-year type of deal, and there could be a team that gives it to him. But as we get later into the offseason, shorter amount of years could become a little bit more of a realistic possibility. And what I highlighted on the show on Monday, and why I think this is so crucial, is because I think we are forgetting about just how good of a player Kyle Tucker is. Because if you look 2021 through 2025, offensively as a player, top 10 players in the game of baseball, Kyle Tucker is number 10 between Vlad Jr. and Corey Seager. I don't think we think of Kyle Tucker in the veins of Vlad Jr. and Corey Seager, but that's exactly the type
I think of him
player.
As a higher vein than Corey Seager.
That is exactly the type of player that Kyle Tucker is, a top 10 offensive player within the game of baseball the past 5 years. And what I wanted to do, and the reason why I brought up Freddie Freeman, is because if you look at the stats early in some of their careers going into the season, what I did on the show on Monday is I looked at Freddie Freeman, I looked at Mookie Betts, I looked at Kyle Tucker, and I looked at Bo Bichette, and roughly around the 3,000 to 37-ish hundred plate appearances, their first 3,000 to 3,700 plate appearances in their big league career. Freddie Freeman, to that point in his career, had a 135 WRC plus through age 20 through 26 season, through 30, almost 3,800 plate appearances. Mookie Betts, through 3,600 plate appearances during his time in Boston, had a 135 WRC plus. Kyle Tucker, through his first 32-ish hundred plate appearances, has a 138 WRC plus.
No, he's elite. He's not good. He's elite. He's squarely the best player out there.
He is right in line with a lot of these players. Yeah. So the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I think some Dodgers fans have this hard line of, I won't go get a Kyle Tucker unless it's a shorter term type of deal. But if it's even in the mid-range, 6 to 7 year type of deal, is it something to where you are willing to, is it something where the Dodgers should be willing to give up those types of years to a player that has this type of caliber? Now, I don't know what the off the field type of stuff, you can have some question marks. The Dodgers certainly are going to do their homework, but assuming that everything clears out on that perspective, is this a type of player where you're willing to give a couple of extra years, or are you going to miss out potentially on this type of player because of an extra year or two? And is that something that the Dodgers should miss out on this type of player? One of the arguments that you could make as far as missing out is the Dodgers could be adding too many of these players. And then when you start to see where some of these contracts are starting to line up towards the back end, you're going to start to get into some really gray area down the road. But I think this is just an overall perspective of where Kyle Tucker is. And I think this is especially comparison with a Bo Bichette, because if you look at offensive players, top offensive players within the game of baseball, Kyle Tucker was number 10, 2021 through 2025 stats. I believe Bo Bichette was in the 50s. I believe he was number 55 or so. Yeah, 55 at a 121.
2023 did a lot to that, though.
2024 did a lot of that. With his stats, but if you look at overall stats, it's kind of right in line. That was a 121 WRC plus. That's kind of right around where he has been around the average between those years and numbers.
Yeah. So, okay. So kind of here's, if you want the guy, then you get creative. So kind of here's what I'm saying. Let's say that the Dodgers, let's say he says, nope, I want 7 years. And the Dodgers go, well, we want you. So we want to work with you. So they say, but we don't want to have to be on the hook to where it's going to be monumentally difficult for us to have flexibility for that 6th and 7th year. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to pay you almost all of this in years 1 through 5. And then years 6 and 7, we're going to pay you the same amount of salary, but we're going to defer years 6 and 7 for further down the road to make the AAV in years 6 and 7 almost nothing for the ball club. So then that really the only risk you have in terms of the contract is 5 years. Year 6 and 7 is low on your AAV, so there's going to be a lot of deferment there. So, yes, you're still getting the player for 7 years, but you're really only risking about 5 years of really having to overpay for underperformance. That kind of. There's a whole bunch of different aspects and ways that you can go about doing those kinds of things. So that's why you need to keep an open mind with the Dodgers, because when you have money, it's easy to make money. When you have money, it's easy to negotiate. When you have money, not only do the Dodgers, so, okay, here's the deal, Austin, okay?
Yep.
Not only do the Dodgers have money, okay, so they have what the player wants in terms of money, but that's not all that they have that the player wants, okay? They have an incredible culture. They have an incredible clubhouse. They have incredible instruction. They have incredible development system, and they freaking win, okay? So literally the Dodgers have all the cards. The Dodgers have what do the Dodgers not have that every single player wants, right? So if the Dodgers can't figure out some way to leverage this situation, then it's going to be a team that's fairly desperate, that's just looking for a name probably that will get people in the seats or something like that. So there's a lot of ways you can do this. The Dodgers have a lot of leverage with situations like this because they have everything that a player would want. So let me get into a conversation here that we actually had a comment on. Cole, I think it was Cole Boy Cole, it says tired of the playoff narrative, like not good in the regular season, only good in the playoffs, because it's not fair. And hey, I agree with this. It's not fair to the people that pay $25 for a Michelada, $45 to park, or however much it is, $200 for a ticket, and it costs you $1,000 to take you to your family to a game on June 22nd, and you got a guy out there who doesn't give a crap about that game because the only thing he cares about is the postseason.
Yep.
That pisses you off. That's a legitimate, that's bullshit type of situation. So where is the balance between – this is always why I say just don't even roster Kike Hernandez's at-bats are wasted. Just pick him up at the trade deadline or whatever you have to do and just don't even – this is why I say that. So the balance there between, okay, yes, we do know this guy is a proven postseason guy, and we do know the only lasting memory for Dodgers fans is the only thing you're judged on if you're a Dodger is winning and losing world championships. But then you do have a lot of families that, hey, they can't afford a World Series ticket. They can't afford an NLCS ticket, but they can maybe go 2 or 3 times throughout the year on June 22nd, July 14th, May 22nd. And the last thing they want to see is a guy that's playing out there not interested because the only thing they care about is the postseason. So what's the balance there?
It's a very difficult balance, especially for an individual player, because you want to go out and win. You have to have a competitive side. Otherwise, you're not going to make it within the game of baseball, which means that you have to let your competitive side go out there. It also, with the game of baseball, just thinking from a player's perspective, man, is it a long stretch throughout the course of the season. And that shouldn't be a complaining type of deal. That is just the reality of what the game of baseball is. It is the longest term game-wise season that there is in the main 4 professional sports, which means that you have to be giving your all consistently. And that you just have to be able to manage yourself and what you're going to be able to do. The difficulty of that is, I think it comes from a culture. I think it comes from a clubhouse type of perspective, because Dave Roberts also has to be able to demand excellence, because while a game on June 22nd, as you had stated, doesn't, and the big scale picture, whether the Dodgers win that game or lose that game, the Dodgers are probably going to go to the postseason, but they have to be able to go and make strides. And there has to be a level and a culture that pushes people to be as good as they possibly can. Now, for individual players, I think and it's difficult for individual players, especially for veteran type players. Like, I don't know if Dave Roberts is going to go up to Kike Hernandez and say, hey, you better focus on this game on June 22nd when Kike Hernandez is able to go out and succeed during the postseason.
It's a weird situation.
It's a weird situation. And I think ultimately the goal for the front office and the organization is to try to win in October. I think that is in part why you go throughout the course of the regular season. The starting pitching matchup that you're going to be given probably is going to be the greatest starting pitching matchup of all time, in parts because I think there's going to be times throughout the course of the regular season where some of the arms aren't necessarily healthy, and there might be something where they might be strategically giving that guy additional rest so that they are ready for October. I think that's some of the trade-offs that you have when you are as winning of an organization as the Dodgers have. When it comes to teams that, man, it's a struggle to be able to make it to October, and you need every single game. If you're in June 22nd and you're not focusing at all, man, that is not acceptable for your team, because every single game can matter and does matter. When it comes to the Los Angeles Dodgers, it is imperative that they limit this amount of time as much as they possibly can. When it comes to individual players, with Kike Hernandez, I think you had mentioned it, he's not a good regular season hitter at all. I wouldn't give him much regular season plate appearances, only maybe enough to what he can get to be ready for October, and that's pretty much it. I think a lot of the time would be better used giving it to players that can either help their 100%. Development or actually going to be able to focus during the course of the regular season, which if you go back to the beginning of the offseason, there's a lot of question marks of whether I would bring back Kike Hernandez before the injury and stuff played out. So difficult conversation, difficult balance, but ultimately the goal is for the Dodgers to win in October, and that's what they're going to prioritize.
I'll give you an example. So I'm bringing this around to like the Freddie Freeman, the Mookie Betts, not playing them as much to keep them fresh, because the ultimate goal is to win a World Series. Here's the argument against that, and I am I'm coming up from the coach's perspective. Hey, I'm Dave Roberts. I'm judged on winning world championships. I'm not even judged on winning NL West championships. Hell, Dodgers fans have made fun of Dave Roberts for God knows how long about, he can win and win at what? Well, yeah, I mean, that's a pretty damn good account, but regardless, okay? We won't get into that conversation, but hell, just winning all the 12 out of 13 NL West championships wasn't even close to good enough for Dodgers fans. I'm Dave Roberts. I am judged on, do I win World Series championships or not? Dodgers fans don't give a rat's ass how you do in a regular season game. That's a fact, okay?
Yep.
That's absolutely a fact, okay? That's not – I know that is an opinion, but really I prove it wrong. I just don't think – based on the way the Dodgers fans react to Dave Roberts and how they have viewed him, he is strictly getting judged on winning World Series championships. So I'm Dave Roberts. I'm sitting down and mapping, how do I make Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Teoscar Hernandez, Shohei Ohtani, how do I make these guys peak at the playoff time in terms of limiting the amount of playing time they get in a regular season to be able to do that with? Well, let me give you a story. Okay, I went to St. Louis to watch the Wizard, Ozzie Smith, play, okay, at the Old Busch Stadium. And it was like his second to last year. I think it was the second to last year. And they had brought Royce Clayton up. And Royce Clayton was playing every so often. Well, this was the first time I'd ever even been to a St. Louis Cardinals game. I was not even a Cardinals fan. I specifically went to the game to watch Ozzie Smith play. And do you know who was playing shortstop that night?
I'm going to guess it probably wasn't Ozzie Smith.
Royce freaking Clayton, okay? I'm still pissed about it. I mean, so literally I had to spend the night, buy a ticket to the next game, and go to the next game the next day, which is I couldn't afford to do that. I mean, no. Back then in 1994, I want to say something like that, it was a little, the nosebleeds, you could get one for $9 or $10 in St. Louis, right? So, it was, and I had some people I could stay with for free. So for me, it worked out. But I'm just telling you, if you're a Dodgers fan and you this is your 1 or 2 games a year that you actually, you've saved up for, you've worked an extra job for. Me, it's officiating or this Dodgers Daily site for an extra side gig. And, you spent time away from your family to make a little extra money so you can go to a Dodgers game, that kind of deal, and you show up and Shohei Ohtani's not playing or Freddie Freeman's not playing or Mookie Betts isn't playing. Yes, it's the best thing for the Dodgers in the long term to peak for the playoffs, which is the only thing that Dave Roberts and, to be honest with you, the front office and the Dodgers and in general are getting judged on. I get that. But that doesn't help that individual. I'm telling you, you're leaving pissed if you didn't get to see Freddie Freeman or Mookie Betts play that night. So this is another reason why I defend Dave so much. It's such a hard situation to be in.
It is a very difficult situation to be in, but he knows his job. He knows his role. He knows what he has to do. And ultimately, it's going to leave some individuals who are only able to go to certain games disappointed. But I think in the long term, what it's been able to do to try to help the Dodgers win in October, at least the past 2 years, has worked. And that's ultimately, he's going to keep doing what he needs to do to be able to make it work for October, because I think we would overall be happier if we see the Dodgers win the World Series than I saw an individual play during a random regular season game.
Yeah, like going to Disneyland and Star Wars didn't open. So here's the only solution to that, Austin.
Okay.
I'm bringing this I like to kind of set context up, get into a conversation, and then button it up full circle. Okay. So the only solution to that is know who Dalton Rushing is, know who Landon Knack is, know who Justin Robles, become a fan, watch our Down on the Farm segments. These interviews that I understand when I do the interviews, they're going to get maybe a fifth of the downloads of a live show or any other show we do. I understand that the minor league coverage, it's not what most Dodgers fans want. They want to know about Zaire Hope. They want to know about Josue De Paula. They want to know about the big names. Beyond that, okay, I want to know about Freddie Freeman and that I get it. I understand that.
The players that they watch and they care about.
Yes. So the only solution to that situation is watch Dodgers Dogs, watch the Down on the Farm, become fans. Not just, hey, I know about this guy. Become a fan of Dalton Rushing. Become a fan of Alex Freeland. Become a fan of Ha-Seong Kim. And really, I think this is probably the channel that does it the best. If you wanted to become a fan of these guys, know who the guys are that are coming up So if you do go to a Dodgers game, like if I go to a Dodgers game, I've seen Freddie Freeman play a million different times, right? If I go to a Dodgers game, I would be more excited to see Dalton Rushing play first base than I would be Freddie Freeman. I'm not saying take it to that extreme, but one of the solutions to that is actually dive in and understand who the players are behind them. Whenever, like for spring training that's coming up, okay? Listen to Tim Neverett. Listen to his stories on the prospects. So whenever you see them in LA, you're a fan of theirs. I think that bridges a lot of that gap.
Yep, it goes a lot deeper. It requires some additional homework to be able to do that. But if you love the game of baseball, there is more in-depthness that you can get in this game of baseball. And especially for some of the guys, Freddie Freeman gets a day off and we get to see Dalton Rushing. Well, Dalton Rushing is fighting to be able to establish himself at the big league level. And he has had a long career before he reached the major leagues to be able to go out and fight for some type of success. And there's a lot of talent there, and I think there's a lot of great stories that you can see in there. But even down at the minor league level, which Casey's had the privilege to be able to interact with a lot of guys down at the minor league level, man, there's some really good players that are coming up through the system that are going to help either the Dodgers or some other major league club. You had the opportunity to be able to interact with guys like a Carson Hobbs and a Patrick Copen, who are going to be likely big league players at some point in the future. Carson Hobbs as soon as the 2026 season, if things go as well as they did last year. Just this past week, you got to see him interview a guy like an Elijah Hainline, who, if you look at some of his numbers, what he did last year,
he's good.
He is really good. I got a chance to be able to see him a lot last year, right towards the end of the season. And Elijah Hainline's a really good player. There's a lot of these really good, talented players that are coming up through the system. We want to make sure that not only do you know who they are, not only can you read a Fangraphs type of page, but you understand the individual in person, and that allows you to be able to root for these individual players more, and it provides a little bit more full circle baseball type of experience to where, man, if you go through a regular season game, yes, you want Freddie Freeman to be able to play in October, but if it's not Freddie Freeman during the game in the middle of the regular season, you have an opportunity to be able to see another good, talented baseball player that is coming up through the system.
Okay, so that segues, I'm going full circle again here. That segues us to our Down the Farm segment tonight. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to talk about some players that as spring training comes up, we're going to do this every single time we go live. Some players that we think that you might not have heard of that you need to. I mean, you've heard of Alex Freeland, you've heard of Dalton Rushing, you've heard of Hyesung Kim, you've heard of Ryan Ward by now. This time last year you probably didn't. So who are the guys you're going to see in spring training that you need to know who they are because they're very good and they're very close? That's what we're going to talk about tonight. The first guy, and we're going to go back and forth, and Austin doesn't know who I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I don't know who Austin's going to say, so this will be exciting and fun.
Yeah, we did not plan this out at all, so we have no idea what's going to happen. So
yeah, no doubt. So this is Ronan Kopp. Ronan Kopp was actually put on the 40-man roster to protect him from the Rule 5 draft. That tells you right there. That's the Alex Freeland. That's the Edgardo Henriquez from 2 years ago. They are going to use him at the major league level. At least every time they've done that in the past, that has happened. So I think you are going to see Ronan Kopp at the major league level. I couldn't tell you how, I know that the roster's full. I get it. I know there's no room for guys like this, but somehow there's always a spotter here too. This is a guy with a big fastball. He's long and lean. He has a just absolutely elite slider, an elite slider that can kind of shape as a cutter and then also shape as a bigger. See, you saw kind of the cutter, then the bigger slider there. This is a guy that if he can harness the strike zone, and sometimes even when he doesn't harness the strike zone, he is really, really good. This is Ronan Kopp. He is a guy that as we approach spring training, definitely put him in your I can't wait to watch this guy.
Yes, and the reason why you can't wait to watch a Ronan Kopp is his ability to be able to generate swing and miss. There is some wildness. That has to be the thing that he works on to be able to propel him to the next level. But his ability to be able to get swings and misses from the left-handed side is so unique. Ronan took a huge step in the 2025 season to where 2024 came up, had a really good season in Great Lakes, struggled in Tulsa in 2024, just completely was able to rebound in the 2025 season. A guy who at the minor league level last year posted a 36% strikeout percentage, swing and miss percentage, about 15% combined between Tulsa and Oklahoma City. The AA and AAA levels, 3.43 combined ERA between Tulsa and Oklahoma City, which Oklahoma City, Pacific Coast League, very, very hitters-friendly environment. So that's still really good numbers that he's been able to produce. If he is somebody that can go out and be able to consistently put it in the strike zone, the Dodgers are going to utilize him. The talent was too much there to be able for the Dodgers to let him be subject for the Rule 5 draft. They added him. There is very likely going to be an opportunity at some point in the 2026 season. Don't know how, don't know when, probably not projected to be starting the season on the Dodgers. We said the exact same thing about Jack Dreyer last year when the Dodgers added him from the Rule 5 draft. He was able to come up and have a lot of success. Now, Ronan Kopp doesn't exactly have the same level of command that a Jack Dreyer does, but the stuff that Ronan Kopp has is among the best of relievers in minor league baseball because of his ability to be able to get swings and misses. Ronan Kopp, very, very exciting player that is coming up through the system.
Yeah, the fun part of him, he's going to come up to L.A. when he does, and some L.A. fan that doesn't follow the minor leagues is going to go, who in the hell is this guy? Because he's going to be throwing about 98, and it's going to look like he's just handing the ball to the catcher. And he's got that slider. He's going to throw that slider right there. And just some rando fan's just going to go, damn, who's this guy, right? And then hopefully he doesn't walk 2 or 3 guys and give up 2. Because Ronan Kopp has the ability to intimidate. He grunts like whenever he delivers the ball, you hear him grunt. And that's kind of intimidating factor too. And he definitely has the potential, like in a one-outing setting, to throw a couple 98ers and a back foot slider and do that right there. Even the major league hitters and Dodgers fans go, who in the hell is that guy? I mean, he has the ability. That will be fun to see in spring training, so keep your eye on him. Okay, who is your first guy you wanted to talk about?
The first guy I want to talk about, another reliever in this system.
Let me know the name so I can get the video up.
Yeah. The name that we're going to be talking about, another guy that's a little bit of a grunter type of guy who missed half of the season last year, but I think could really surprise you. I'm going with Lucas Webb.
Lucas Webb, he was injured all last year. You know that.
Well, here's the thing: is he still was able to put up 29 innings pitched for the Tulsa Drillers, and what he was able to do. 279, 293, 372 ERA, FIP, and expected ERA. This is somebody, you look at his minor league career, it is consistently strikeout percentages in the 30s to upper 30s. Last year at Tulsa, put up a 30.5 strikeout percentage. Absolutely nasty. His swinging strike percentage, if you know me, I'm looking for relievers, especially within the system, good strikeouts, ability to get swings and misses, and actually showing out the ability to be able to get swings and misses with swinging strike percentage. His swinging strike percentage last year was near 16%. That's among the best in the system for the organization. And he is just somebody, especially when I got to see him in Great Lakes in the 2024 season. He was with Great Lakes end of 23, beginning of the 2024 season. And he was able to take command of a lot of those leverage type situations. And there's just a fierceness, competitiveness that is there. Now, he missed a lot of time. Casey had mentioned it, missed a lot of time last year with injuries, but I think that is making him more under the radar than what people are thinking about. And I think that's why if he comes back healthy into the 2026 season, I think people are going to be looking around and questioning who is this guy when Lucas Webb is a really good pitcher. It's just about getting him back healthy and then seeing how he does once he is healthy again.
You know what round he was drafted in?
I do not know what round he was drafted in now.
You know why you don't know what round he was drafted in?
Why is that?
He was not drafted. You know who else wasn't drafted?
Who's that?
Jack Dreyer.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're talking about a guy in Lucas Webb. He went to the University of Louisiana Monroe, originally from Canada, and then played JUCO ball in Colorado, and then ended up at ULM, didn't get drafted. Lucas Webb literally is maybe the biggest underdog story you could possibly find in all of the minor leagues in terms of his route to possibly a major league. Now, are you saying you think he has a chance to make the major league? I'm talking about guys who I think actually might I think Ronan Kopp will make his debut next year.
Yep.
Guys that have a good chance to make a debut next year. You think he has a good chance to debut?
I think, well, it's not at the beginning of the season, but if you're talking about late 2026, if he has the success that he has, he's around the same level that Carson Hobbs is, which we talk a lot about Carson Hobbs just because of the protection from the Rule 5 draft. Lucas Swift already eligible for the Rule 5 draft. If he has a lot of success, if he strikes out a lot of hitters into the season and the Dodgers need some help, right-handed reliever, I think he very well could be one of those guys that the Dodgers could potentially turn to.
Okay. Yeah, and that would be quite a story. I think it'd be an even better story than Jack Dreyer. I mean, Jack Dreyer's dad pitched in the major leagues. I mean, this is a guy that was, I mean, he went to Iowa. It's not like this guy was he was injured. That's why he was undrafted. This guy here, though, Lucas Webb, with his big old splitter and his just, it was funny when I interviewed him. And I gave him the questions. He didn't want. I said knees and elbows, because he has that quirky look. And he's like, let's leave that one out. I was like, okay, well, okay, that's fine. I will. So I left that one out. But he does have kind of a lot of ass and elbows or knees and elbows, if you will, to his. It's just a really funky, just kind of an uncomfortable setup for a hitter to face in terms of looking at that windup for his. So you're going with Lucas Webb. I'm surprised you went with him over Jose Rodriguez, although I think you might go with him here in the future. Here's a guy I'm telling you need to know about. He is super good. This is Zach Earhart. This guy, now we just had the conversation to where never take a day off because there may be one family that this is the only game they go to and this is the only game they ever get to watch you play. That's their. I'm telling you, I watched every single game that Zach Earhart played at Oklahoma State. And keep in mind, he was a second baseman, shortstop in high school. Oklahoma State actually had to convert him to an outfielder. I have never seen this guy do anything other than play balls to the wall every single game. And I can tell you he can hit home runs. He's what I classify as a little guy. That's not really a little guy, if that makes any sense. This guy has a lot of pop. He is super intense. His IQ for baseball is off the charts. He's one of the most competitive human beings. I always call him, he's happily pissed. He's happy because he's playing baseball, but he plays baseball like he's pissed all the time, right? And to be honest with you, he flattened his swing. His last year at OSU went just completely off. And this guy's going way under the radar. I'm not sure he's – I don't know. I don't want to make any statements here, but I'm just going to say Zach Earhart's damn good.
He is incredibly good at the game of baseball. Overall at the minor leagues last year, just because I want to be able to provide some context for you guys with some additional numbers, 272, 374 on base percentage with a 439 slugging. That is a 135 WRC plus between high A and double A. He broke out with a 143 WRC plus once he got to Tulsa. This is one of the guys. This is the second outfielder in the Dustin May trade, and he has a really good, well-rounded game. I think that is what's so great about Zach Earhart. It's so well-rounded. He stole 37 bases last year at the minor league level. He walked 12.5% of the time. He struck out.
What's the strikeout rate?
His strikeout rate was only 18%.
There you go. He's a damn good player, man.
And you're talking about somebody also hit 14 home runs. It's not the most incredible power that you have, but he's still able to put up a .168 ISO. That's a really good balance between the power and limiting the strikeouts, but also being able to get on base. This is a good, well-rounded type of player. Just somebody that's going to go out there and do really well. Zach Earhart, when they were able to bring him in the system, I think he was the second player within that deal. I have no idea still how they got traded Dustin May for both James Tibbs III, who is another good prospect that could potentially debut towards the end of the 2026 season. But they didn't just get James Tibbs III. They also got Zach Earhart. That is incredible magic by Andrew Friedman, because both of those players, which I don't know if we have to also address James Tibbs III within this realm of conversation, which we probably do just because they're connected with that.
People have heard of him.
Yeah, I think both of them are really good, talented players that are part of the system. One outfielder that we talk about a lot, but I don't think anybody else talks about, that also is in the upper levels of the minor league system, Cole Myers.
Yeah,
a lot of people would probably go James Tibbs III, rightfully so, because he is a good player. Cole Myers in all of the outfield conversation gets completely undershadowed by how good he actually is. He started off this is somebody drafted in the 9th round from the Dodgers from Troy. Just as somebody to be able to add into the mix, onto the roster. Started off his first professional season in Great Lakes, and every single step, which was both at the high level and at Tulsa, just went out and had a ton of success at the Great Lakes level, a 142 WRC plus. But this was combined with, in his 24 games at Great Lakes, a near 30% walk percentage.
Wow.
Insane.
What was the strikeout rate?
Strikeout rate, less than 20% at 19.6.
Yeah, he needs to get that down. That's the Drew Avans thing.
That's going to be the thing.
That needs to come below 15% for the type of player he is.
And that's going to be the thing with Cole Myers is he able to keep that strikeout percentage down? Because Cole Myers is, if you have not been able to watch him in person, he is so gifted and so incredibly fast, to the point where I texted Casey early in the season, man, I wonder who is a faster player, Kendall George and Cole Myers. Now, I think Kendall George is probably the faster player only because he stole 100 bases, and why would I doubt Kendall George as part of the system? But Cole, that's just to show you how fast Cole Myers is. Stole 34 bases on his own. Last year, once he got promoted to the Tulsa, the AA level, 127 WRC plus in his 76 games there, still was able to walk 13% of the time. Strikeout percentage does have to go down from what it is. It's at about 22%, which for Cole Myers, you want to see that down a little bit just for the type of player, because he's not the greatest power hitter. But from the overall outfielder prospects type of scenario, now, he does not have the highest pedigree that a lot of these other guys have, but consistent production-wise, you look at his 130 WRC plus that he had overall in the season, that stacks very well with some of the other guys that are part of the system. And if he can be somebody that can find a way to be able to get on base consistently, find a way to be able to draw a lot of walks, I think you can see and be able to use his bat to ball skills to be able to put the ball in play, use his speed to his advantage, similar to perhaps some of the steps that Kendall George was able to make at the high level last year, where he cut his strikeout rate dramatically. You could see Cole Myers being added into the mix of outfielders that get discussed when you talk about the Los Angeles Dodgers and their outfield prospects.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to go another guy at the AAA level that has already made his major league debut, so I'm kind of cheating here a little bit, but I still think cheating. Yeah, but I still think he's a guy that most Dodgers fans have not heard of.
All right.
That is Paul Gervase. I think this guy, I think it was just kind of now it's unbelievable what the catcher did, Rortvet, because I mean really whenever the Dodgers made this trade, the jewel here was Gervase. I mean Gervase is 6'9", something like that. He has 7 point something foot of extension. Okay, I mean this guy's literally handing the ball to the catcher, and he's extremely smart. He's a guy that went to Division III college, wasn't quite hooked up. I mean, had to kind of make his mind up. Do I really want to do this or not? So he's already gone through the struggle bus part of the game. But I think really by the time the Dodgers got him in what was it?
It was end of July, yeah.
Yeah, early August. It just was such a race. I mean, it's like he didn't have time to get comfortable at the major league level, and it was like, okay, well, here's you a couple of outings. Let's see what you do. You know, I think now he's been in the system long enough. He actually mentioned in an interview that the Dodgers like you to max out on your stuff. They don't care. I mean, they want it to be in the strike zone, but they want you to find the dirtiest stuff you can find, whereas the Rays, they want you to throw the best stuff you can while also keeping in the strike zone the most. So that might lessen the actual dirtiness of it or the metrics of your pitches, but they think it's more effective because it's in the zone. Whereas the Dodgers, they want you to learn how to beat the track man, if you will, and then try to figure out how to throw strikes on that. So I think that's a battle that Paul Gervase was dealing with. Not a battle, but an adjustment. I think the offseason, being in the Dodger system, starting in spring training, I think this is a guy in spring training with his size, with his 2 or 3 pitches, whatever he shows up to spring training with. I think he's a guy that in spring training, Dodgers fans will go, what? I mean, what? Who in the hell? I mean, kind of the Ronan Kopp deal. I think he's the right-handed version of Ronan Kopp, where you could go, what in the hell is this? Paul who? I mean, that kind of deal. I really think he's a guy that could turn a lot of heads in spring training.
Yep. No, and you talk about him, especially with what he did at Tampa Bay last year in their farm system at the AAA level. This is the reason why the Dodgers acquired Paul Gervase from Tampa Bay, and one of the reasons why he stood out so much. 2025 with the Durham Bulls, 40 innings pitched for them, 3.12 ERA, 3.42 FIP, 2.89 expected FIP. You dig underneath the surface, though, of that, 39% strikeout percentage with the 7.5 walk percentage. That's a 31.7 strikeout minus walk percentage at the AAA level with the swing strike percentage of 16%. That will play, especially if you're able to be refine that and be able to get to that type of level. That is one of the better relievers in all of minor league baseball, and especially with his extension that he's able to get, with some of the stuff that he's able to do with some of his mix. This is one of the better arms that the Dodgers can help work with him, and especially with the coaching staff, the development staff that the Dodgers have, they can really help maximize the ability that Paul Gervase has as they're able to have more time with him to be able to help his development process. They didn't have a lot of time to be able to do so last year, but once they have more time to be able to work on him, this very well could be somebody where, man, he's part of the system. You look at somebody who could very well be optioned at the beginning of the season, but if he's able to make things click, things can turn around really fast. We saw Will Klein turn things around and pitch really well during the postseason, and things clicked just like that. Man, you have a lot of potential in Paul Gervase. Not saying he's going to pitch 4 innings in a postseason 18-inning game, but he could have a lot of success. I think he easily could.
I think he's that good. I think he could climb the ladder that fast.
He very well could. He has the talent to be able to do so, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, Austin, we're going to do one more. Hey, we have another super chat here from Matt Kramer. Everyone, please like the bottom, and everyone, he who can, please do a $1.99 or $4.99 super chat. Matt, you are absolutely 100% the best. So thank you so much for those wonderful super chats tonight. And thank you. We've had a wonderful crowd. We haven't been on for 2 weeks. I've prioritized just about everything else. In front, it's been so slow. I've been able to catch up on everything else. So I appreciate everybody being very patient. Okay, Austin, one more piece.
All right, one more piece. You kind of cheated with yours. I'll kind of cheat with mine. Somebody who also made his big league debut last year, but not with the Los Angeles Dodgers. It was with the Angels. It's Gary McDaniels.
Okay.
I think we're going to talk a little bit about Gary McDaniels because he is somebody that came within. Okay, was part of the Dodger system, was a complete surprise to be taken in the Rule 5 draft last year by the Angels. But then there's a couple of things happened. He only had 10 innings pitched. Didn't pitch terribly for them, but then was returned back to the Dodger system. And when he was to return back to the Dodger system, there was a lot of good that you saw with Gary McDaniels, especially from the left-handed side of the mound.
Can I stop you there? I actually asked him about that, and he said specifically he got back to his same throw that he used to have with the Dodgers. So his throw got off with the Angels. When I say throw, mechanics, arm slot, all release point, all that just throw all that together and call it throw, right?
Yep.
He said his throw got off with the Angels, and once he got back to the Dodgers, they got his throw back to the way it was when he was with the Dodgers the first time. So go ahead.
Yep, and you saw that really have a lot of good effect on him. And let's talk about this. Let's keep this in mind. This is somebody who, in the end of the 2024 season, kind of with Tulsa, although just with 2 games for Tulsa. He pitched mostly in Rancho, the single A level at the time for the Dodgers. He pitched 25 innings for Great Lakes and then just 3 innings for Tulsa. Those 3 innings are the only 3 innings he has pitched at the AA level. So this is somebody not a lot of experience until last year at the upper levels of the minor league system or even at Major League Baseball. Made his debut with only 3 innings pitched at the AA level. Once he got returned to the Dodgers, he didn't go back to Tulsa. He went to Oklahoma City, and these were the numbers that he posted: a 3.30 ERA.
Okay, hold on. Before you go on, go through the game logs. Tell me why it's not like a 1.89 ERA.
All right, you know what? I will do that after I go through some of the numbers and stuff, just because I want to be able to provide people with the full context of stuff. And I also have to change it over to the minor league game log because there's probably, looking at the game logs right now, there is two instances which he gave up.
Look at his early in August.
Yeah, there's one August 1st, which he gave up 3 runs. Mm-hmm. There's also the 22nd in which he gave up 4 runs. Other than that, there's maybe one other time when he gave up 3 runs. Every other time is 1 or 0.
He had COVID. Literally,
yes.
his only bad outing, he had to pitch with COVID. I mean, he was sequestered from his entire team.
Yes.
They wouldn't even let him in the locker room or anything.
Yeah.
So everything else, when he didn't have COVID trying to pitch, he was lights out. So go ahead. Sorry about that.
And this is in the Pacific Coast League. This isn't a league when you're not supposed to succeed. This is in a league where, hitters thrive in this league. He was 39% better than the league average Pacific Coast League pitcher with his 3.30 ERA, 4.33 FIP, 4.14 expected FIP, still 20% better than the league average Pacific Coast League pitcher, a 28% strikeout percentage from the left-handed side of the mound. That is well above average, a 15% strikeout minus walk percentage with a 13% swinging strike percentage. And this is the key with a Garrett McDaniels, and why I'm so high on him is not just his ability to have a lot of success. It is the type of profile of batted balls that come from him when they are hit.
Yes,
it's almost all ground balls.
Yes.
It's a 65% ground ball percentage. That is one of, if not the highest ground ball percentage in all of the Pacific Coast League, in all of AAA baseball. You're having a guy that, man, even when he does give up contact, which he's still able to get close to a 30% strikeout percentage, somebody that is going to generate a lot of ground balls and have a lot of success. That will translate. If you can get hitters to hit it on the ground, you're not having them hit for power. That is a good thing. And if you combine that with them also getting a decent amount of swing and miss, Garrett McDaniels absolutely has a big league future. I'm glad he is back within the Dodgers organization if they are able to give him an opportunity to be able to succeed, because Garrett McDaniels has a really bright future ahead of him.
We have another $20 super chat from Christopher Navarro. CNAB, you are an absolute rock star. Happy New Year, Casey and Austin. Happy New Year to you.
Yes.
By the way, that was a great game last night. With the 3 games up to that weren't very good, but the game last night between Georgia and Ole Miss was very good. Happy New Year to you, CNAB, as well. Thank you again for your just incredible support and everything you do for this channel. It's just absolutely awesome. Keep the shows coming. We honestly appreciate them. They should be consistent from here on out. There'll probably be some news for one, but then again, we've got everything squared away where I've been spending all my time there at the farm and that kind of deal. So we'll get on a consistent schedule here and get after it. So we always just thank you so much for your wonderful support, CNAB. And then Chuck Huddleston, absolute rock star. I don't know that I know anybody who knows more about baseball than Chuck Huddleston. Just an incredible baseball fan, a wonderful Dodgers dog. 1999 support for the channel, Austin. And then this has just been absolutely incredible tonight. And I'm going to send it back over to you. But how about all this wonderful support? CNAB, Chuck Huddleston, Matt Kramer, and then just everybody in the chat. This is an elite, not the biggest, but it's an elite community in terms of you want to come and have good conversation, respectful, take a deep dive, be able to give your opinion, and just have a really fun interaction. That's why we enjoy these shows so much.
It is why we enjoy these shows, and we are grateful that there is a place for people to be able to come and have those respectful, intellectual dialogues. That is what we're trying to build here, Dodgers Dogs, is those thoughtful, intellectual type of conversations in which we can explore different avenues and different perspectives and be able to hear different opinions from people in a thoughtful, intellectual type of way. I think that is something that we really strive to be able to do, and we're glad that we've been able to find a home for different people. And we can't thank you enough for the support that you guys have had for this channel, for Casey, for it takes a lot of work to be able to make this show, and the research to be able to put thought behind all of our different conversations, to be able to know who each one of these players is. The time that Casey has spent, especially interviewing and talking to a lot of these different guys throughout the minor league system, he spends a lot of time being able to craft and try to find different ways to be able to talk not just about the season that the individual player has, but dating back to some of their early days. And that takes a lot of research to be able to do that. So we try to provide the best coverage that we possibly can, even though this isn't our day job that we have, and we can't thank you guys enough for the support that you guys have for this channel, for us as individuals, and for the organization that is so great and has blessed both Casey and I and all of you guys a ton.
Okay, Austin, we're going to have a little fun before we get out of here. Who do you think the last guy is going to be?
What was that?
Who do you think my last guy is going to be? We're going to have a little fun. Nobody knows my Dodgers brain better than you do.
Man, the question is, where are you going to go with this?
Let's say a guy that I don't necessarily project to make his major league debut this year, but I think he's going to be a damn good major leaguer, and I think he has a lot of upside, and a guy that people are sleeping on. All
right, a guy that people are sleeping on. Is it somebody that you've interacted with at some point, let's just say within the relatively future?
Not in this offseason. No.
Not in this offseason. Okay, interesting.
See, I didn't. The ones that I interviewed in stadium, I didn't reach out to in the offseason. It's only the ones I hadn't talked to.
Man, I have no idea where you're going with this one. I'll let you reveal it.
You have no idea where I'm going with this.
No idea.
I don't have the virtual camera on, do I?
I have not seen any.
I just realized that.
Which is totally fine because I already know all these guys.
Well, hold on a second here. Let's get this going. Okay. All right. Tell me who you think this is. Let me back that up.
Yeah.
Here we go. Who do you think this is?
Oh, is this Nev?
Kyle Nevin? Yeah, absolutely, man. This dude's good, man. Yeah. I mean, tell me I'm wrong. This dude is major league good. I mean, he can stay. So the story behind him is he was like 5'7" as a freshman in high school. He was like 5'10", 5'8", 5'9" as a sophomore in high school, and then as a junior in high school, he was 6'7". He literally grew like an entire foot in 1 year.
Yeah.
So he was always a really little, small kid. Okay, so that right there, you know why he hits like that? Because as a kid, all the way up till about his junior year in high school, he had to hit like that because he was a little dude. And so he learned how to hit like a little dude, but then ended up having a big boy body. And so now that's why he's able to do that right there, because he grew up learning how to hit like a little guy, but now he's trying to incorporate that big body to add some pull side power to that to have the complete game. He transitioned a lot over to third base, and I'm telling you, his defense at third base got a lot better. This is what he's trying to add to his game right there. And when he ties into one, you know as well as I do, the one he hit off the light post there at I can't remember where it was.
Yeah, Wisconsin.
Very impressive. He can pull the ball, but he's just so good at using the big side of the field. This is a guy he's in the growth process. Mm-hmm. He's growing at third base. He's growing in terms of what's the balance between trying to add pull side power versus how I've always hit. What the growth process for Kyle Nevin might be the most exciting growth process of any prospect. And when I say growth process, I mean, yes, getting better, but trying to actually define, not try to create, but try to define what actually is the best version of Kyle Nevin. Trying to find that for him, to me, may be the most exciting prospect in the system.
Yeah, he is really exciting with what he's been able to do. Did not expect that from you, only because I'm not sure if he's going to be able to be completely ready. If there's some major steps that he has, I think he potentially could be ready towards the end of the 2026 season, but potentially more 2027. But this, you mentioned third base is something that he's working on. If you're looking at different third basemen that could potentially come up through the system as different options, especially if he is able to have some of the same level of success that he had with Great Lakes during his short tenure with Great Lakes in the 2025 season. If he starts fast, you could start to hear the name Kyle Nevin start to pick up a little bit more. You mentioned he's got some incredible power. I got to see it in person in Wisconsin. I think I was there for that home run that he hit in Fort Wayne, which Casey showed as well, which hit near the back of some of the apartments, business.
Was that last year or the year before?
Oh, that one in Fort Wayne was the one that he hit last year. Or if it's not the one that he hit in 2025, he hit one basically exactly like that. 2024 is when he hit one off the halfway up the Life Tower in Wisconsin. That was a good 15 to 20 feet beyond the outfield fence in left center field. Just a ridiculous home run. Be curious if Casey could be able to pull that up.
Is that
but Kyle, what was that?
There it is right there.
No, not that one. That's in Dow Diamond. You got to find it in Wisconsin. That's not even the one. No, that's not the one. I was talking about a different home run that you hit. You're gonna have to. That's not that one too. That's against Fort Wayne. You got to go. It was back in early May in which he hit this one in 2024.
That helps me.
Yeah, so
keep talking about him.
Kyle, I'll talk about what he did with Great Lakes because he spent all of 2024 with Great Lakes. Really, it was a 95 WRC plus. Wasn't a standout season last year. Just 17 games. Once he came back from injury, a 270, 395 with a 508 slugging, a 156 WRC plus for Kyle Nevin when he was at Great Lakes last year with a near 15% walk percentage. He came out on fire for Great Lakes, got promoted up to Tulsa, 105 WRC plus. But again, it's a lot of that process type stuff that he's looking for. There's a lot of well-roundedness that's part of his game that Casey and I both really like. And there's a lot of room for growth for him. And
growth, yes.
And especially with the power potential that he has, that hopefully Casey will be able to find this home run at some point.
Are you talking about last year or 2024?
2024.
And it was early May?
It was yes, because it was June? End of April, early May, because I was in Wisconsin during that time period when that happened. I don't remember if it was end of April. I think it was like May 1st or 2nd, something like that. Is when we were talking about this home run in 2024 for Kyle Nevin in Wisconsin. Either way, the power that Kyle Nevin has absolutely is in there. It is about being able to hit it. Yeah, this is it right here. This home run.
Right, doing. Watch this. Right off halfway up the light post. That's awesome.
Halfway up, it was unbelievable. And I was sitting right behind home plate for that. It was a ridiculous type of home run.
Yes, it's Phil Nevin's son. Yes,
it is Phil Nevin's son. Really good baseball player and somebody that you should be looking out for going forward into the future for the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Okay, man. Well, that was a lot of fun. So we have. Let me click this back over. We have a question. When's the next show? We're gonna do one tomorrow.
I can do one tomorrow, yeah.
Okay, so if we do one tomorrow, we've talked about everything there possibly could be about the free agency deal. And to
Tucker
be quite honest with you,
we've talked a lot about Bo Bichette and Kyle Tucker,
which is about all there is left, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So leave a comment or in the chat here. I want tomorrow to be almost all minor league coverage. Okay. Mm-hmm. In terms of covering some of the guys we're getting ready to see in spring training. So we can go over projected rosters. I know Jay left a message the other day. How about go over the projected rosters that are on Fangraphs for each team? We can do that. We can go over specific players. So between now and then, Austin, come up with a theme if you want, and we can come up. I want tomorrow to basically be all down the farm. Have a little bit of fun because, like I said, I think we've worn out the major league topics. Hey, we'll talk about it. Whatever comes up in the chat, we'll do it. What time tomorrow for you, Austin?
Anytime after lunch would be probably good Eastern time. It also would probably be good for fans over on the West Coast, so they don't have to wake up at 7:00 in the morning to watch Dodgers Dawgs. We like you to get a little bit of rest on your Saturday day off.
So how about 10:00 Pacific? That would be noon my time, 1:00 your time.
That should work for me.
We'll get on it, and we'll talk a little bit if there's some. We might talk a little bit about like the Giants and the Padres and the. We might, if you know anything about them, because I don't.
Or it could also be something where I know in the past we have done something to where we've also invited people to be able to come onto the show, whether it's people from the crowd and stuff. We could be able to have them be able to participate in the show. So we can have a big chunk of section, the main portion of the show being about the minor leagues coverage and system, which actually I should be able to pull out. I actually got an Ontario Tower Buzzers hat for Christmas, so I should be able to pull out my Tower Buzzers. The new low-A affiliate of the Dodgers, pull out that hat. He's got the Oklahoma City Comets hat.
Show your lid. lid.
Yeah. I've got the Great-Lakes-loons hat. You can get this loons.milbstore.com. Which, by the way, with Great Lakes, they just released a teaser. It sounds like, and I've known that they were going to do this. I don't know exactly what it is, but sounds like on the 7th of January, they're going to be releasing a new alternative identity. They just released a trailer for that. I'm super pumped about that because that means more Great Lakes Loons merch that I'm going to be able to purchase. But the bulk of the show tomorrow will be, especially if we don't have a ton of interaction with the crowd, going to be a lot of interaction or a lot of discussion about minor league players. But then
middle infielders, we already have a suggestion in the system.
We can also talk about middle infielders. That sounds like a great option for us to be able to do that. And then also a lot of interaction with you guys. And perhaps
we'll
bring you
open
guys
it up
into
to the
show.
audience. There you go.
Perfect. So if you want to join Dodgers Dawgs, Dodgers Daily, and leave some questions, have some discussion, perhaps even some of the back and forth, even about Bo Bichette and Kyle Tucker, those type of conversations, we can have that tomorrow, and you can actually join in on the show. Should be a really fun thing for us to be able to interact with you guys because we want to get back to you guys as much as we possibly can.
Austin, great to see your face. As always, great job, dude.
Appreciate you, Case.
To you wonderful Dodgers dogs, to everybody that donated tonight, to Chuck, to, I don't want to leave anybody out here, to Matt Kramer, to CNAV, and to everybody. Jay, I know you contribute just a ton to this. And Jose, Al Minerva, just absolute wonderful support for this channel, and everybody else that's out there that comes. It's so much fun to get to interact Dodgers baseball. Thank you so much for your wonderful support. It's always so very humbling. This was a fun show to get back to. We hadn't been at it in a couple of weeks. A lot of fun to get back to. So thank you so much. You Dodgers dogs are the absolute best. And as always, don't forget, it's a great day to be a Dodger.